Okay, so here I welcome all of you again for this next session of 20th Iron and Steel Summit. The session is a panel discussion and is titled Iron and Steel Industry, the challenges ahead. Okay, now when we talk about the challenges of iron and steel industry, it also includes the future opportunities, it includes the challenges and the threats for the industry, new trends which are coming up in the industry like green steel making or digitalization for that matter. We will also explore the new emerging markets for this iron and steel industry because the Indian steel production is rising and is rising as was mentioned by Mr. Padi in the first session. It is rising. Last 6 months is rose by 11 to 12%. So that means that we have to find emerging markets also for this rising consumption of steel. So, with all these things in mind, I welcome the dignitaries and I welcome the experts, I would say, of the steel industry in this session. I welcome Mr. Satyajit Mohapatra. Satyajit Mohapatra is from AMNS, and Satyajit Mohapatra is the head of technical marketing and application engineering. And he's a old and very experienced one and has traveled a lot. So, we would like to hear from Mr. Satyajit about his experiences and about his insight of the industry. Then we have with us Mr. Vivek Agarwal. Vivek Agarwal has been Chief Operating Officer at Hira Group. Before that, he has spent a lot of years in JSPL also, and he has a very good grip of that sector of the steel industry, which from iron ore to sponge iron and sponge iron to steel. So that sector, I think, Mr. Vivek has strong grip on this sector, strong insight about this sector. Vivek ji, thank you very much for sparing your time, and
Thank you very much, sir. Thank you very much.
we would like to hear from you about your insight, your perceptions, and about your predictions about this sector. Then we have Mr. Dr. Anil Dhawan. Anil Dhawan has been Executive Director of All India Alloy Steel Producers Association. And Dr. Anil Dhawan has spent a lot of years in the alloy steel industry and is, of course, a veteran of the industry. And I would like to hear from you, Dr. Dhawan, the insights, especially about alloy steel. And if we say that the percentage of alloy and special steels is increasing in the total production of steel, what does it mean? Does it mean we are progressing, and does it mean that there is a great future for alloy steel industry in the future? So we would like to hear the answers to all these questions from you. But to start with, I would like to have opening remarks from all three of you. So let us start with Mr. Satyajit. Satyajit, your opening remarks on the title, which is Iron and Steel Industry, the challenges ahead.
Yes, good morning to you all. Thanks, Mr. Chandekar, for giving us this opportunity. And since this topic is very pertinent in today's context, the entire steel industries, the challenges that we have been seeing is the core is sustainability and growth. Then the technologies, today even we are not clear as to how the technology is going to emerge in the next 5-10 years, what kind of technology will be there. Then the raw material and the logistics, and the people and culture. Why I'm saying this people and culture is, today as far as all the steel industries, today all the references which I'll be making is for the flat products. All the technology that we have, I'm talking about the entire steel industries, it's fabulous. It is the best in the world. But if the technology is the best in the world, then why the product that is coming out is not the best in the world? So there is some gap. Somewhere there is a gap. We need to understand those gaps and how we can really make it happen. This is a key challenge which all the steel industries as a whole is facing today. So if you permit me, Mr. Chandekar, I'll just share 3-4 slides which I have prepared.
Please go ahead. Please go ahead.
Is it visible?
No. Now it is visible.
Okay.
Yeah, now it is visible. Yes.
And I specifically made, looking at this context today, the challenges, the sustainability and growth, futuristic technology, raw material and logistics, people and culture. I'm not going to give you any facts and figures because everyone is going to give the facts and figures, but the challenges which we are having today and how we are going to, what are the solutions that we can envisage.
Okay.
Today, we are talking about the 60% of domestic steel demands comes from the construction segments. And today, we have a huge target of meeting 300 million tons by 2030. And per capita consumption is close to 160 kg, which we are targeting. But today, we are at the low level, less than 80. So how it is, and if you really have to attend this, there is a major challenge which we talk about, the sustainability, that is green steel. We all talk about green steel, but have we ever asked what is green steel? And when the government is not yet clear as to, they're still in the process of defining what is a green steel. There has been no standards. Until now, all the steel industries have been using World Steel Association data to find out what is the level of carbon dioxide emissions. So it becomes really a challenge. Now, the government has formed a committee, and that committee is working on finding out the standards and definition of the green steels. Now, the green steel, when you talk about the green steels, there are so many factors. Then you have the raw material crunch, because if you talk about the electric arc steel making units, because that itself, your DRI and EF route, that is something which is likely to reduce the carbon dioxide emissions. Then again, the challenge comes that how, because you don't have the availability of the scrap. And you will know that the worldwide, there is a shortage of scrap. 1/3 of the total steel that production is catered by the scraps. And the quality of scrap is also a concern. This is a bigger challenge. Then you talk about coking coal. Coking coal, if you see that today, India doesn't have the coking coal. We have coal, and you know this coal, we cannot use this coal because of the higher ash content, and this requires a lot of cleaning. And this topic also was mentioned by someone in the, I think Mr. Rajesh Gupta has mentioned this particular topic, that beneficiations and how we can really do it. So those aspects will be taken care. Now, if you talk about the India's net zero target by 2070, how are we really going to achieve? The steel industry must look at all avenues, especially the carbon capture and storage and utilizations, to ensure the targets are met. Then we talk about maximum abatement of carbon emissions based on the current technology in the BF and BOF route. Today, we have got the highest availability of the iron ore, and the BF and BOF process will remain. We cannot avoid. But in that case, how to reduce carbon dioxide emissions? Your coke charging is one of the largest contributor of carbon dioxide emissions. So this really throws lots of challenges to the steel industries. Then the scrap electric arc furnace and hydrogen based, it is natural gas. All these aspects which we are talking of is really, it's going to pay. It is going to be difficult, but not impossible. Then when you talk about green steel, today as steel mill, we are getting a lot of requirements from the automotive OEMs. But are they really ready to pay the extra cost? So these are some of the questions which we need to answer. Now, how to reduce? The pathway to low carbon steel India will have 3 stages. As you say, focus on improving the prevalent technologies. When you say that technology, the process improvements, we can reduce the carbon dioxide level by 30%. So this means, which essentially means our process has to be very much robust. Improving the quality of raw material through beneficiations, energy efficiency measures and recovery of all waste heat, process digitalization and adoptions of green power. Then increase focus on scrap blending, This also analysis says that if you really practice this, then the carbon dioxide emissions can be reduced by almost 20%. Overall scrap generation is 1/3 of the total crude steel production, indicating a worldwide shortage. Circular economy will start generating enough scrap to meet the demand of the steel industries. Are we generating enough scrap today? My answer is no. So how can we generate? So here requires the government policies. Then the third is on reducing the intensity of emissions in both existing and future blast furnaces. Integrated steel producers in India have an average emissions as high as 2.2 to 2.5 tons of carbon dioxide per ton of liquid steel, crude steel. Steel is to aim for 1.7 to 1.8. So this is something which is a challenge, major challenge which I foresee. The coking coal, the raw material, you can say the government of India's coking coal mission, they have started this coking coal missions, and to increase the domestic production of coking coal. 10 coking coal blocks have been auctioned in last 2 years and expected to begin production by 26 and 27. This is really going to give a major boost to ensure higher usability of high as domestic coking coal. Coal India Limited, under the ownership of the Ministry of Coal, is setting up 9 advanced coking coal washeries. So the players must adopt new technologies such as dry beneficiation followed by wet washing to get higher yield. So same is the logic for high grade iron ore. We have today this 62% iron ore is depleting. So how can you use low grade iron ore to produce DR grade iron? So this is a challenge which I think the government also should have some sort of policies so that we can really invest. And this requires a lot of research and development initiatives. Now, logistics. When you say logistics, waterways, slurry pipelines are a more logical solutions. So this is something which is very cost effective, and fortunately, ArcelorMittal Nippon Steel is the only one which has this, that is slurry pipeline. Then you have seamode transport. We have multimodal transport and slurry pipeline, sea transport, then road transport. So this becomes, and that too, we also have a port adjacent to the steel plant. So which is very, it's a cost efficient process. Then optimal use of steel manufacturing facility to utilize the maximum amount of available space for producing steel. Focus on developing multimodal, which I have already told you. Dependency on the road transport is set to decrease, and rail network enhancements, additional rakes, and faster speed of cargo trains. Then finally the culture, which I have already explained. So this culture has to start. We need to change. We have the best resources, we have the best facilities, we have the best technology. The only thing the best we don't have is, as per me, this is my personal opinion, you may counter, the only best we don't have is the culture. We have the best manpower, we have the best technology, but the culture is something which we really need to improve. Then only we can be a great nations, and we can effectively utilize the resources to be the world number one. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Satyajit, and it was really insightful, your opening remarks coupled with few slides. And yes, we can debate on the issue that what is the culture, how we can improve it, and what effect it will have on the overall efficiency of the steel industry. Now I will go to Mr. Vivek. Mr. Vivek, are you there? Vivek ji. Hello. I think we have lost him. But anyway, then I would go to Dr. Anil, Dhawan Saab. Dr. Saab, your opening remarks, please.
Can I come in?
Yes, please, sir.
Okay, good morning to everyone. And
Good morning, sir.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chandekar. It is always a pleasure to be on your platforms, on your programs. And I always compliment you for the timing of the programs. And then, of course, the type of subjects that you pick up, they are right to the core of the steel industry and the user steel industry. And that's why it's always a pleasure. Second is the subject and the uh, areas which you have proposed to be discussed today. I think I'll be more first on the opportunities. Let us talk about the opportunities.
Yes,
As
please.
you rightly mentioned in the beginning, you would desire both opportunities and the challenges. Let's talk about the opportunities first, and then we'll move on to the challenges that we have. I think first and foremost, as a steel industry, we should be proud to feel that we are the brightest spot in steel industry in the world today. Now, it is not only a blank statement; it is a statement backed by the facts, and the very fact that today we still are second largest steel producers. And I think my friend from MNS did mention about the quality. I think we are not, perhaps, I must rather go on to say that we are quite good in quality. May not be the best in the quality, but we are good today in the worldly acceptable quality. When we say worldly acceptable quality, there are others like China. There are others like, I think, even in Southeast Asia, many mills. We have, as compared to whom perhaps our steel, particularly when I'm saying our steel, particularly the alloy and stainless steels, are the world quality. And the fact remains that the acceptability as well as the high usage today of the indigenously produced alloy and stainless steels in the auto, defense, railways, and aerospace. Having said so, I would like to make this again that we have a very expanding steel market. When we say expanding steel market, it is primarily backed by the fact that we are growing, economy itself is growing by 6 to 7%. And when the economy grows by 6 to 7%, you can imagine it is, am I audible? Hello?
Yes,
Yes,
yes.
you are, sir. You are. Yes. Please continue.
Am I audible? Yeah, okay.
Absolutely, absolutely.
The infra, auto, defense, aerospace, railways, all segments, they look for steel, and therefore we have. My understanding is and predictions are that H2 will be better than H1 for this financial year, and the next H1 of the next year, 2024, would also be a very comfortable year for the steel industry. When we say about this steel industry, it means that it is going to have a demand-based, demand-backed production and expansion. And that is also getting reflected in the enthusiasm in the steel producers, both primary steel producers or the BF route producers, as well as the secondary route producers through electric arc furnaces. And therefore, there is when we say there is the scope for further expansion and improvement in our markets, and when we say that, as you rightly mentioned, the markets, when we say expansion, it does not necessarily mean domestic markets, but it also encompasses the international markets. When I'll come to that subsequently, within this whole gambit which I'm talking about, I think overall, world over, long steel is performing better than the flat steel, primarily because of the crowding of the flat steel kind of availability, we'll say, and as compared to the longer ones, and also I think because of the thrust all over on the infra. Having said so, I would also say that then what is the internationally scenario? I think internationally things are settling down. Ukraine-Russia war is just one of those, not a very big concern in the mind of anybody. It is basically one of the, today people have learned to live with it, and therefore they have moved beyond that. What used to be 6 months back as a major crisis in the mind. Now, coming on the other issues internationally, I think whole world, particularly Europe, is reeling under high cost of power, I think, which is leading to non-tariff barriers like CBAM, or what you call as carbon border adjustment tax, which is also putting pressure on everybody, as my friend just mentioned about bringing in the concept of green steel and so many other things. Word over, yes. Second issue, which perhaps we are thinking about scrap. The world doesn't seem to be having any pressure on scrap because they are 60, 70 years ahead of us on these issues, scrap processing, and in fact, India is importing huge quantity of scrap from them. Therefore, two things. A, yes, India will have a concern about availability of scrap. Always it has been, it is not a new thing. Last 10, 15 years we have been importing, and it will, in fact, demand will grow more. But the scrap, when it comes to, it will be available. Yes, the concern mentioned about whether what is happening in the country, two very positive things. A large number of scrap processors are coming, and that is very encouraging. Two, besides this, the government emphasis on scrappage policy implementation, if it is taken in the right spirit, I think to some extent that will also be taken care of. Now coming to the other challenges, I think first of the challenges we must always face, like a game of cricket, one has to defend its wicket. And the defending of the wicket is if you have a sound a market, sound base for consumption, then everybody will have a look at your markets. And today the threat is of two ways. One is, of course, cheap exports from China and others, or even FTA countries, Japan, Korea. The other one is the carbon leakage, which has become a very important concept. That means the countries which will not be able to supply to Europeans and other markets because of the carbon emissions, they will find a way into our country at low rate and with low carbon at extremely low price. If, now this is a big if, and that's a challenge to both us as well as the government, if a sound CBAM policy or sound carbon adjustment policy is not announced. I'm happy to announce, I'm happy to share with you, just 3 days back, I had I am one of those members of the meeting being committee made by the Commerce Ministry, which is working out the carbon emission policy, green steel policy, and also working out ways and means to tackle European Commission's announcement of CBAM and counter proposal. Lastly, when we talk about challenges, and that too particularly pertaining to alloy steel industry, which Mr. Chandekar mentioned, let me first and foremost share with you, alloy steel industry is expanding. But we were having a very detailed discussion with SIAM and ECMA. We had a seminar with ECMA one-to-one with the OEMs others, which has listed out few challenges right away. First of all, they all still are not over the issue of chips availability, and that affects the consumption. If that affects the production and consumption, then we'll have to look at it how it is semiconductor when we say chips. Then second one is, as I have already mentioned, imports. Raw materials, I have said coal. We have been importing, it was not there, we have to increase. Well, there is a word having surplus coal, whenever it is needed, it comes. But that does not mean we can't look for alternative source of energies. Today, alternative source of energies is going to be the talk of the town, whether it is through, or we call it as renewable energy. And that is also going to be linked with the green steel, particularly for the steel producers, which I'm talking about, are wheat handle. That means electric arc furnaces, where if we replace the energy, conventional energy with renewable energy, solar energy or others, it will lead to green steel right away. Why I'm saying so, as my friend mentioned there just a few minutes back, that if the carbon emission in the conventional blast furnace route is around 1.8 to 2. If we are able to manage the renewable energy combination and some other factors, the carbon emission will suddenly fall below 1. In fact, I have been sharing and talking about Kalyani Steel, which produced the green steel already and has already marketed it, is having less than 1 as a carbon emission. But that does not resolve all the issues of the whole industry, because electric arc furnace route is a limited route. And secondly, skilling, my other friend has mentioned, no problem about it. And one thing, another bright spot is the government support on producing special steels in the PLI scheme. That PLI scheme came, now this, earlier it was only for auto, covering only auto sector. The new PLI 2, which has come about, and then already negotiations taking place with the steel producers, covers specifically defines. I think somebody's will have to switch it off, so otherwise echo is coming. So coming back to that, I'm finishing my that PLI 2 is going to be a scheme which is going to be lapped up, I think, by all the steel producers. Am I audible?
Yes, you are, sir.
PLI scheme is going to be a really game changer for both. You see, it has a component of high special steel expansion capex. 2, the focus is on import substitution, which means the upgradation of the product right away. And 3, exports. The thrust is on exports. If these 3, and in this, almost every steel producer, when I say almost, it means almost every steel producer, right from the topmost down to the smaller ones, even 20,000 tons, like Starwire is one of the smallest steel producers. They're all applying and going ahead with it. If it is, they are all going ahead with it, I think it's a brighter prospects available in few. And as we discuss subsequently, there are so many other issues which I would like to share subsequently. Thank you very much, including the emerging markets like Mercosur region and other things. Thank you. Sorry if I have taken a bit longer.
No, it's okay, and it was very exhaustive. We will discuss the issues, especially the PLI scheme which you have mentioned, and in relation to exports also. But before that, I would like to go to Mr. Vivek Agarwal for his opening comment. Mr. Vivek, please. Agarwal ji. Hello. We have again lost him, I think.
He was there for a while, I think.
Yeah, he was there. Just now he was there, no? So, Mr. Agarwal, are you there?
If he has a network issue,
Yeah,
he can
he's
shift
there.
to audio.
He's joining. He's rejoining. So we will wait for him to join, and just he's joining only. I think there is some problem with his. Yes. Yes, Mr. Agarwal.
Yeah, good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon. We are waiting for your opening remarks, sir.
Yeah, actually, sir, there was some network issue. Anyway, sir, it has been resolved.
Yeah,
So,
please, sir, go
first
ahead.
of all, I congratulate. Thank you very much, sir. First of all, I congratulate your team, Steelworld, and all the panelists for being with us for last 20 years.
And sir,
I
I
am
would also
fortunate,
like to thank you. You are with
by
us for
virtual
last
meet
20
of
years as
physical,
well.
I have been always there. So, thank you very much, sir. That is first one. Second, sir.
You were also with us for last 20 years.
Yeah, I know in the
So
first
I
conference
want-
which you organized
I
at
want-
Babylon
thank you
International
also.
in 2008 or 9. So since then, I am with you, and in any form, whether it is virtual or physical, I
Yes,
got the
yes.
opportunity, sir.
So please go ahead, sir, with your opening remarks.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Yeah. So now you have given me only 10 minutes and lot of
No, not
responses.
like that. Go on. No problem.
Yeah,
let
sir,
have
you
your-
have given only 10
let-
minutes with lot of responsibility. Yeah.
It is not like that. Go ahead, have your opening remarks, then we'll discuss. Please. Again, you are not audible, sir. We have again lost him. No, he's there.
Sir, I think there is some network,
Huh.
sir, there is some network issue anyway. It is started.
Please
So
go ahead, sir.
I
Please
have
go ahead.
given 10. Am I audible?
Yes, yes. Please go ahead.
Hello?
Please go ahead, sir.
ठीक. So yeah. So a lot of things had been already shared. I'll directly come to the main point about the scenario of steel. तो फर्स्ट थिंग जस्ट टू शेयर कि आई एम एज यूजुअल आई एम ऑलवेज बुलिश. अभी भी मैं बुलिश हूं और स्टील देयर ओनली इट इज फर्स्ट इज दी अबाउट ग्रीन स्टील. तो उसमें देखना है ऑलरेडी हमारे प्राइम मिनिस्टर मोदी जी ने बोला है कि 2070 तक हमको बनाना है, नेट जीरो होना है. तो ही हैड ऑलरेडी टेकन 20 years मोर, 1 generation मोर. सो एटलीस्ट वी आर सेफ बाई 2 more generation. अभी 2023 में है तो 47 years आर देयर. आई डो नॉट नो हाउ मेनी ऑफ अस विल बी देयर, बट दैट इज वन थिंग. अगर पूरी दुनिया करेगी तो हम भी कर लेंगे. दैट इज वन थिंग. और सेकंड क्या है कि इन माय एंटायर कैरियर आई हैव सीन 32 साल में पहली बार जो स्टील के प्राइस है और डिमांड है, दैट इज माइंड बॉगलिंग. All the prices of steel, sponge iron, pellet are all-time high. In spite of there is no export in the market from pellet, from DRI. So that is a good thing. It shows कि we are in strong hand and economy will be there and we are going to have a very good future for steel. As far as green steel is concerned, उसमें बहुत ज्यादा उम्मीद का गुंजाइश नहीं है, क्योंकि इतना स्टील बनाने के लिए जो टारगेट रखा गया है 120 मिलियन से 500 मिलियन टन स्टील बनाना है और 2.65 जो CO2 एमिशन है उसको नेट जीरो करना है. तो आप देखिए हम कुछ भी कर लें, हमारा CO2 एमिशन तो बढ़ने ही वाला है, क्योंकि हम 4 गुना स्टील बनाएंगे. तो हम अगर उसको 2.65 को 2 भी कर दें तो वहां तो हम 30% कम कर रहे हैं, बट यहाँ 400% बढ़ रहे हैं, 4 times. तो ओवरऑल तो CO2 एमिशन बढ़ेगा. बट व्हेन इकोनॉमी इज ग्रोइंग एंड we have lot of good project in our hand. So important is that we have to make this a developed state as our prime minister is saying. एक ही चीज है कि देश में मोदी जी की सरकार रहनी चाहिए. अगर सरकार रहेगी तो सब बराबर रहेगा और नहीं रही तो क्रैश हो जाएगा. कुछ भी कर लीजिए. तो आई होप कि he will continue, but otherwise there is no other alternate. He had to be there.
Let us not discuss political things. Let us
नहीं सर वो
let us restrict our discussions to our industry only. Let us
नहीं,
not
that's why I am telling you, sir.
sir.
सर प्लीज सुनिए ना आप. व्हेन इट इज बीइंग टॉकिंग अबाउट द चैलेंजेस, तो एक चीज गवर्नमेंट स्टेबल होना चाहिए. इट इज ऑल अबाउट दैट. दैट इज द थिंग. तो गवर्नमेंट स्टेबल रहेगा देन थिंग्स विल बी देयर. व्हाटएवर हैज बीन प्लान्ड विल बी हैपन. गवर्नमेंट स्टेबल नहीं रहेगा तो नथिंग इज गोइंग टू हैपन. दैट्स द थिंग.
I know.
और अभी तो एक वन थिंग आई जस्ट वांट टू शेयर कि अभी जो स्पंज आयरन की कैपेसिटी हो गई है इंडिया में, इट इज अराउंड 63 मिलियन टन.
Okay.
But it is very unfortunate that we are producing 40 million ton. It means we are practically running at 70% efficiency. And it is a very big area for all of us. कि ये जो 30% efficiency which is already installed, we have iron ore, we have coal, we have alternate of using imported coal. There is a demand of steel. And we are not able to produce 30% of the DRI which is already installed. अगर हम ये 30% कर लेंगे तो हमारा एनर्जी एफिशिएंसी में बहुत बड़ा रोल प्ले होगा, क्योंकि इसमें कोई इन्वेस्टमेंट नहीं है. सीधा ये आपको बॉटम लाइन इंप्रूव करने वाला है. और सेकेंडरी क्या है कि आपको स्टील बनाने के लिए यू नीड आयरन, मेटालिक्स, आई मीन पिग आयरन और DRI. विदाउट पिग आयरन व्हेन वी नो और विदाउट स्पंज आयरन व्हेन वी नो वी कैन नॉट मेक स्टील. So this is a very big area where we have to see why people are not able to produce. Second है awareness about.
What is the reason?
Sir, reason is mainly about the use of raw material. Still people are inclined to use inferior raw material. सस्ता कोयला, सस्ता आयरन और ला दो तो efficiency आती नहीं है. You have to use pellet, you have to use imported coal. उसमें आप 110% एफिशिएंसी तक चला सकते हैं। एंड सेकंड इज अवेयरनेस। अवेयरनेस आई फील स्टिल इट इज लैकिंग। जितना हमारा अवेयरनेस सेफ्टी में है, एनवायरनमेंट में है, उतना अवेयरनेस लोगों का एनर्जी एफिशिएंसी में अभी भी नहीं है। दिस इज वेरी बिग एरिया। अवेयरनेस से केवल 5 to 10% एनर्जी एफिशिएंसी किया जा सकता है। दिस इज माई स्ट्रॉन्ग फीलिंग एंड वी हैव डन इन आवर प्लांट अर्लियर ऑल्सो, here also. So awareness is very big area of improvement. Then raw material, people have to use the best raw material. Reducing consumption of raw material is also a step in the direction of green steel. If you put more coal, if you put more iron ore, that is also a threat to energy efficiency. And then innovation. Innovation is again a very big scope in all the industry. There had to be proper drive from the top level to do the innovation, because I remember when I was in JSPL, because of innovation only we had been able to achieve 100% efficiency. So these are the major things. Technology will come, we do not know when it will come, but then it is very, very costly. आज का डेट में 85% steel is produced by the secondary steel and private sector companies. Only 15% is produced by government. तो ये सारा बर्डन प्राइवेट सेक्टर में पड़ने वाला है। दे हैव टू मेक देमसेल्फ रेडी। बहुत खर्चा होने वाला है, इतना इजी नहीं है इसको बनाना। तो लेट अस सी व्हाट इज गोइंग टू हैपन, बट आई एम कॉन्फिडेंट इन कमिंग ईयर्स steel will be in demand. And the way this year I have seen this monsoon season, there is no drop in the price, no drop in the demand. Same will continue and we are going to enter in the good season. So I hope that we will continue to see good time ahead. That's all, sir, from my side.
Yeah,
Thank you very much.
It was very heartening to note that you are bullish about the future of the industry. So we are, and of course there are problems. Without problems, no industry is going to progress. Also, so it is on the opening note. It is a good thing that you are positive about the future of the industry. But now
Yes.
let us go ahead and let us talk about the few parameters which we wanted to discuss as we go ahead. As I had mentioned in the opening remark also, we are at the threshold of the of the our industries at a threshold, and any economic development, especially for a country like India, revolves around the infrastructure development. And because infrastructure development needs steel, and without steel it cannot happen. Steel automatically assumes the center stage of economic development of this country. To that extent, I also believe that steel industry can make or break of our big Indian dream of being super economic superpower, whatever. So the such a important industry, important core industry of the economy, we want to discuss few parameters which will impact the future of this industry. Like one parameter, you all three have mentioned in your opening remarks, is the carbon footprint. Carbon footprint is one thing which is coming across. It will actually, now Europe is also last conference Dr. Dhawan mentioned that Europe is also drawing the parameters whereby they can restrict the steel imports which are not compliant with the carbon adjustment rates and all that. So to what extent we are prepared for this in the future? Of course, I would like to start from Mr. Satyajit. Maybe, as an integrated plant, or as my take is like this, or as an integrated plant, you may be better prepared, but the industry in general, whether it is prepared or not.
See, I just, since you asked about the preparedness, carbon dioxide, we are all blast furnace based. So we are quite fortunate. I'm talking about AMNS is quite fortunate that we have DRI and EAF route from the beginning. So that is the reason why the level of carbon dioxide emission is reduced. And also you see that we also have blast furnace and corex. So and the further expansion that is happening is also in blast furnace. So what is happening? Blast furnace, your iron ore is available. So that is the reason that blast furnace route is preferred. The second is that coke. Coke is also something which is very important ingredient of a blast furnace. Now that is imported. We don't have the sufficient and that the coking coal which we have in India has a lot of ash content, which is as good as it's not. It is cannot be used directly. So what is happening that unless we have the first stage is that unless you have a proper beneficiation facilities in India, you talk about coking coal, and if you can really produce coking coal of the blast furnace quality, then definitely it will have an advantage. Second point is improving the process efficiency. So these are all process efficiency. And the blast furnace, if you can really inject pulverized coal, then that is a coal powder. Then what will happen? That this can also reduce to some extent. So, but definitely with blast furnace technology, you cannot, as Dr. Dhawan has mentioned, that you cannot reduce carbon dioxide level to a great extent. The only thing is that you have to have electric arc furnace DRA route. Now, if you talk about DRA electric arc furnace route, then itself is that's a very cost effective route. And the second point is also the availability of scrap, the quality of scrap. In India, the scrap quality is very, if you don't have the proper quality, then again, it is going to have a huge impact. So all these things, if you see that the preparedness have to be there. But as a steel industry, I'm just talking about today, we are getting enormous challenge from the automotive OEMs. Everyone is talking about that green steel, then level of the decarbonization. So we are getting ourselves prepared, but it will take some time. It's not that easy that we can do it immediately.
Your bottom line is it will take some time.
Yeah.
Vivek ji, what about your industry? I feel your industry will be least prepared. What do you think?
No, sir, actually, we are moving.
Not your company. Let me be very clear. I am not talking about Hira Group in particular. I am talking about the sector which uses coal-based sponge iron and produces steel.
Yeah, actually, sir, if you talk about our specific case, we have implemented ESG, that is a very important tool in the direction of green steel, where environment is one pillar of that ESG. Now,
Okay.
under this pillar, we have already done the audit of our entire CO2 emission and energy consumption. Now we have taken a target that slowly we have to shift from coal-fired boiler, fossil fuel, to green power, renewable energy. As a result, we have installed around 100 megawatt solar power plant, and we have started getting power from those solar plants through grid. So that is the first step we have taken, that to make thing. One is power, second is steel making process. If your power is green, so half of the work is done. Second is the use of scrap. If you use scrap, then it becomes 100% green steel. But in our case, it is not so far possible to use 100% scrap because we have DRI, we have induction furnace. So we have planned that in future when we are going for the expansion, so we will think to put steel making through scrap route. But seeing the condition of the scrap availability, again, it seems a very big question mark on steel part to make steel through only scrap, because availability of scrap is not that enough.
Yeah.
That area is a concern. So I think that we have to continue with the same DRI and blast furnace route, and power only we can depend up to some extent on green power. But if you ask me, I am not confident that whatever power is required, and that is the stable power, can be achieved through renewable source, because this solar power, it makes power only in 7 to 8 hours in daytime. Rest of the time there is no power generation. So whatever power bank is there, power is stored to the grid, that can be available for steel making. So in that scenario, it is not at all possible to get consistent power in that very high volume to the steel plant, because steel plant, you know, arc furnace, they need power, constant power, and then when they do the tapping, that power is again not used by them. So it's a very, very tough to see what is all going to happen. If we talk about Kalyani, we can't say that Kalyani plant can be compared, because ideally they make 1 lakh ton. That is peanut. And even if he wants to make 1 lakh ton, today also he can make. But when we talk about 1 million, 2 million, 3 million, not possible to make through green route. I am very confident. Because for example, we give Sweden ने बनाया, कल्याणी ने बनाया, उनका क्या है? आप देखिए 1 लाख टन बनाते हैं. They are not 1 million, 2 million, 10 lakh, 20 lakh. Their capacity is nothing. It is almost negligible. Only they claim because they can do it. But like JSW had planned to hydrogen from Rajasthan. So that is the thing which is really technology which had to be done. But let us see how it all happens. JSW, JSPL, Tata, they are.
What you are saying is, as on today, we are not that prepared. Your sector.
Yeah, not that.
Hmm?
Only power area, we all are diverting from coal fire to solar power. So that is being done. But steel making route, no, at present, there is no as such proper planning and no hope for doing that.
Dr. Saab, he is
Yes,
saying
sir. I'm
Kalyani
sorry,
is
I got it. Yes,
no,
yes, sir.
what Mr. Vivek is saying, the special steel plants are smaller and it is easy to implement all these things there. But when it comes to bulk steel production, when it comes to millions of ton production, how can you implement it? It is difficult. Right,
What
Mr.
he said is correct to larger extent, but when I say there is a big but in between, there is, firstly, he's right. The smaller plants, they are
They can be
the
better managed. They can be better
not
managed.
only better managed, even by the government, they have been recognized as low-hanging fruits for green steel. When we say low, it has been recognized that they would be the ones who would be ahead in the race. Now, second point, the major plants, my colleagues, my friends in the blast furnace route are already there. I think everybody must have read in the news that Tata Steel has already used hydrogen in one of their biggest blast furnaces and reached a great degree of success. Now, if a major steel plant has already done hydrogen usage, whatever may be the cost is one part. And the success also, Mr. The head of Tata Steel, Mr. TV Narendran himself have come out in the press, and he generally Tatas don't boast. They always rather keep more in hand than what they tell. So if they have done it and they are ahead on it, meaning thereby it is not impossible. Two, and that is very important, which I am sharing with everybody. There is so much of awareness in the last 6-8 months that the big plants, big exporters like AMNS, like Tata Steel, like GSW, like GSPL, who all put together export more than 14-15 million tons in a year. They are not only preparing themselves, but they are gearing themselves to meet the challenge. Now, second point, I think there is a lot of misnomer about the green steel. Am I audible?
Yes, of course. Please go ahead.
There would be certainly norms of the green steel to be defined by the government. It is not that if somebody else has mentioned green, believe me, anything which will be produced by a steel plant which is less than 1.8 carbon emission, a million ton per ton of steel will be called green steel. So what is the problem? So there is yes, it is very difficult. B, the larger technology is not available for hydrogen usage in bulk. 3, the old plants cannot be changed much beyond the present technologies that exist. Therefore, most important for them is for going for energy conservation or energy audits and ways and means to reduce that high carbon emission energy consumption, and B, replace as much, I no doubt. It is not available continuously, but whatever is available, I think that has to be used. Now, let me share with you, I have been part of 7 committees constituted by the Ministry of Steel and 1 by the Commerce Ministry, which is talking on daily basis on these issues. And first thing that is the requirement of everyone is give the policy, make a policy to facilitate steel producers to achieve it. Now, this second one is do the hand holding. When we say hand holding, means even financially, they will be, all are working together on this, all associations, users, consumer, stakeholders are working towards it. Believe me, our stake perhaps next to China is the second highest in the world. And come what may, and I must tell my other 2 colleagues, the government of India will not allow the disruption of production. Huge employment is involved. Today, earlier it used to be 4,000 to 5,000 tons for 1 ton of steel making. Today it is 8,000 crores for 1 million ton to be produced or invested. You mean to say the government will allow these things to happen, that it will allow the industry to collapse? Answer is no. I myself am heading an association. Can I allow the half of the steel producers to just think because somebody is asking for carbon emissions? Answer is no. Money will not be allowed to go waste. No capacities will be allowed to go waste till they live their lives. And therefore, that is the understanding with the government. There will be a time scale. Nothing happens. Even there is a saying, Rome was also not built in a day. Therefore, steel industry is highly capital intensive. Gestation periods are high. Therefore, there will have to be a transition. My understanding is in the first, or maybe up to 2030, people will be asked to reduce their carbon emissions by 30%. I think that's not a very, very difficult job. And subsequently, I think by 2047, carbon neutralization and other. Believe me one thing, one more thing, we were there with the Secretary Steel just a week back. One mechanism is going to come, and that is, see, the demand of green steel will define the production of green steel. The demand of green steel will define the premium on the green steel. Okay. If somebody doesn't need it, why will he pay the premium? But yes, if the government notifications come, no, for steel, you have to have minimum or rather maximum carbon emission not exceeding 1.8. Well, that may be the rule, like carbon emission. The cars are happening today. Car manufacturers, the biggest today challenge was what? A, emissions, B, the fuel. So they have added, and the carbon demand, the demand for cars have shot up. It was never so high. So similarly, steel demand will decide who needs what type of green steel. It is basically, believe me, green steel is a concept coined by European Union because their power is so high and they use green power more. They have a very high availability of scrap, so they may be able to do it. We will handle our way. There's nothing to be, in my opinion, this is my opinion, that industry producers have nothing to worry about it.
Yeah. But then, sir, how we are going to export in Europe? Because they are going to impose that carbon adjustment taxes.
Absolutely. This is a very good question. In fact, let me tell you today, half the exporters are working only on this. And in the European Union remains the biggest market for steel exports from India. It may be Tata, GSW, JSPL, and all the exporters have started very extensive work on mechanism of reporting. Okay. Which will start from 1st of October. So 3 years, actually, it will not stop. Exports will not stop. The actual implementation of the CBAM is coming 3 years later.
I know, but they are preparing from now.
Everybody, you ask my colleague in AMNS, where they are preparing. Tata's.
Yes.
Our units also.
Satyajit, what preparation are you doing?
No, preparation, see, it is the question that we are making preparation as to meet their. Today, what is happening as far as AMNS is concerned, we are targeting most of the domestic market. The
Okay.
domestic market is also equally good. So now it is in the exports also is. But when you're talking, Mr. Dr. Dhawan is what he's saying is that we are internally preparing, or the team is getting geared up to meet those requirements. So this and as he rightly said, that all these challenges that we are facing, that it cannot be done overnight. It has to be in stages. So when I say it will take some time, does not mean that we have not started, because we know that it is going to be met. We know that there is going to be a regulations from the government, and there will be a time frame. So the preparedness has already started. Preparation has already started, and it is going to be done in stages. And the outcome of this will happen only when the government formalizes the entire activities, like green steel. As I rightly said, what is the definition of green steel? What are the parameters? When you say 1.8 or 1.7 tons of carbon dioxide per tons of crude steel, is it that a target? Or every year, how much quantity, how much percentage you are going to reduce at what stage? So these are something which the government is going to give the directions, and based on which the steel industries will definitely comply. And I'm sure that, because we are also trying internally to find out exactly, we cannot say what exactly steps that we are going to undertake now, but yes, answer is yes, we are in the process and we will meet the requirements.
I think with I would like to supplement here. I would like to supplement something here.
Yeah, Dr. Saab, just a minute. Mr. Vivek wants to say something.
Yeah, please go.
Vivek ji.
Sir, yeah, so thank you, sir. I just want to add one line. Actually, I 100% agree with Dhawan Saab is what Dhawan Saab is telling. And I also have the same thing. Before we really go for green steel, there is a good weapon in front of us. हमारे पास एक बहुत बढ़िया हथियार है, और वो है energy reduction. And this can be done immediately, maybe by awareness, or by improving the raw material quality, or by improving the efficiency, or by doing the innovation, right? And or by measuring the specific consumption at national level. At least one thing we can do, what are the best consumption of like DRI or induction furnace or electric arc furnace or blast furnace. We can at least target national parameter कि भाई India में ये these are the plant top 5. They are achieving this. Why we cannot achieve this? Why people are using 1.4 ton coal when others are using 1 ton? So itna bhi, and doing this is also a big step in the direction of green steel. It is not only you start making. If we can reduce 10 to 15%, तो जो हमारा 2.65 CO2 है, 15% या 10% भी हमने कम किया, तो it will come around 2.1, 2.2. So that can be immediately done, and that is possible easily without any big investment and without going for green steel. Yeah,
Dr. Dhawan.
I just both. In fact, we are all on the same platform. The green steel is a concept. Number one. Actually, I think we have all come to agree in the ministerial and government and industry circles. It is going to be decarbonization. The concept is decarbonization. Green steel has been coined by someone, and we don't have to really stick to it. We will call, in fact, this mission has been called Mission Decarbonization of Steel. Right from DRI units, the smallest units, the associations, we are working together, all of us, associations on DRI, sponge, then the induction furnace, arc furnaces, blast furnaces, all technologies working together to ensure everybody falls into the norms of decarbonization and absolutely clarity that there will be no disruption in production by the units.
Okay, great, sir. We would like to move on to our next, subject, which is, in my opinion, is digitalization. But before going to that, I would just shortly like to ask Dr. Dhawan, since Dhawan sir, you were totally involved in this PLI 1 scheme. I would like to have your fair assessment on how much successful was this scheme and how much money was distributed. Can you give us some idea?
Wow, that is again something
especially for alloy steels, no?
No. I'll tell you. Firstly, this scheme is for all categories of steel PLI scheme, PLI 1 and PLI 2. Now, the second one is
Yeah, tell me. Yeah.
The second one is the money distributed. See, the scheme is such, which is the first year now, PLI 1. Now, this is where people will have to invest, submit papers of distribution. It will come much later. Now, how much money has been allocated? For PLI scheme, Government of India has allocated a total of about 6,700 or 6,500 exact crores.
Only
Now,
for steel industry.
only for steel industry.
Okay.
Okay. Second is large number of industries has already applied in PLI 1, and another good number would come in PLI 2. So that speaks the success of the scheme. And
when the companies will actually get money.
Pardon me?
When the companies who have applied will actually get the money.
Only when they start they start showing the production.
Okay, okay.
I can share with you the document of PLI 1 and PLI 2, which is in the public domain. I think anybody can have an access to it. It's in the public domain of Ministry of Steel, PLI scheme.
Okay.
There, the parameters are defined. The government is quite flexible. This PLI 2 is easier than PLI 1, much broader than PLI 1. And I think once it takes off, as I mentioned, and once the first crore of rupee goes to one of the person who has implemented, a lot of people, AMNS is into it.
It's a long chain. It's a long.
It's a minimum 5 year.
5 years.
5 year span.
So I expect
starting
to get
from the
money
first year.
if I'm eligible and if I applied, I expect to get some money after 5 years.
Yes.
Okay. Now
you can claim production of the first year and put your claim for the first year if you have done it 100%.
Okay.
Second year, if you have not been able to do, you will not get it.
Okay.
Then there are methods of making up. So it's a very fine tuned scheme. And similarly, it is there in the auto sector, textile, every sector they have introduced today. There are hiccups because nobody knew. Even the government and industry both, they didn't know anything about PLI scheme. So we are working together, going together. And I'm very happy to mention that Steel Ministry is discussing very, very closely with the stakeholders, particularly the unit holders, AMNS, Tatas, SAIL, then Jindal Stainless Steel, Kalyani, Sunflag, Mukund, all. And let me tell you, the list is long.
Yeah.
List is long. In the first PLI, 40 applicants, 40 qualified applicants. And in the second PLI, another people will come.
So you think the incentive is big enough to energize the industry?
Yes, it is.
Okay.
In fact, the incentive is depending upon your even the product. In some cases, it is as high as I think 12% or 14%.
Okay, great.
In some commercial qualities, or rather, I'll say there is no commercial quality today. Some special steels of BF
carbon steels or something.
Yeah, or galvanized are there. Rails are there. Asymmetric rails are there. So all are high-end products. A minimum is, I think, 7 to 8%, and it goes up with the value chain. And it's a very progressive scheme, I must say so.
Great. So now let us move on to our next subject, which I feel is digitalization. So last time I had started with Satyajit, but I know these integrated plants like AMNS, JSW, they are more prepared for digitalization sort of a thing. They are going ahead with a with a better speed. I would like to start from Mr. Vivek. Hello, Vivek ji.
Yes, sir.
डिजिटलाइजेशन के बारे में कुछ किया है आपके इंडस्ट्री ने?
Sir, digitalization के बारे में actually couple of things we did. We implemented AI in our plant, and we are very hopeful कि let us see how it works. But then there are two things in any production plant, particularly DRI plant, pellet plant. One thing is operating parameter and one thing is experience. Now, when we convert everything on AI, so there are certain things particularly related with experience. Experience cannot be brought under AI. You can just put only your parameters, whatever based on your past data. You can operate your plant through AI if it is only data driven, if it is only your parameter driven. But the experience which we have spent a good amount and did this project through Symphony. What we found is experience and accidental situation. Like जैसा आप जानते हैं अभी कि गूगल मैप जो है इट वर्क्स ऑन एआई तो बताता है 1 घंटे पहुंच जाएंगे बट सडनली इफ देयर इज एक्सीडेंट तो things got delayed. Similarly in industry, if we convert all everything on AI, but when like suddenly if there is rain, say then some power failure, any rotary feeder transfer shoot, transfer point choking is there, then AI cannot do anything. AI is also helpless because he do not expect such thing which are accidental. So in industry where things are equally operated with the experience, AI cannot work, and rest of the things like online monitoring, online data feeding related with the production and consumption, that is a very common thing most of the plant are doing. We have already done, but what we are planning to use this AI in our plant, but we could not do it. Recently in one of the steel conference at Kolkata, this same question came from Tata Steel and Tata Sponge, that what we are doing for digitalization in our plant. My simple question to them was, for the plant other than Tata, there is a cost and there is a lot of risk. But Tatas are having TCS and Tata Elxsi with them. So I think there is no cost, and TCS is the world #1 company. So I have requested them to just again do a try. We have done, we could not get success in implementation of AI. And SAP and production data online feeding, that's a very common thing. So this is the status about our plant. Let us see what.
Because
what
I
we
was
can
not
do.
asking, I was not asking you specifically about your plant. I was asking you about your subsector of the industry.
Yeah, so there is a change, there is a shift. But if I say that it is a digitalization, then it will take time, because first of all, people had to have that awareness, that acceptance, that availability of those software. But yes, there is a change, there is a shift, but still it will take a lot of time to reach to that level.
Satyajit, I think your sector, I mean integrated plants or this big plants like AMNS or JSW or Tata Steel, they are much faster in implementing this digitalization process. It requires a different culture. It requires a different mindset, a different approach. How do you look at it, and what is the progress, in your company? Or maybe I'm not asking specifically about AMNS, but I'm asking about your type of companies. Let us put it that way.
Hello.
Are you? Have you heard? Have you heard me?
Yeah.
So I was asking about the progress of digitalization in your type of companies. I'm not asking specifically about AMNS, but your type of companies like JSW, Tata Steel, AMNS, RNL, SAIL, big companies, because it requires a different mindset, it requires a different approach, it requires a different culture. You were talking about the culture in the beginning. So
Right.
I let us talk about the culture which produces more digitalization or more AI based systems.
Yes.
Tell me.
Digitalization is something which we have already initiated. There's a lot of activities, lot of projects are going on. And as you know that in the steel industries, unless we go for digitalization, we will not be able to sustain. That is something, the first step that the
That realization has come, Mr. Satyajit. That realization has come.
Yes, absolutely.
Not only specifically, again, not in specifically in your companies, but big companies. That
I'm talking about
digitalization
all
in the
industries.
yes.
I'm
Please.
talking about industry 4.0.
Yes,
So where
yes.
we are talking of, so that realization has already come. So
Okay.
digitalization is the solution going forward.
Okay.
And
Okay.
it is not only for AMNS, I'm talking about the steel industries as a whole.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And now, depending on the how fast the digitalization is happening at every stage, I cannot comment about others, but I can talk about AMNS.
Yeah.
We are going on in a very, very fast pace.
Mhm.
And entire automation systems like your supply chain modules, it is automated. And this project is already on. In fact, last 1.5 years, we have been working on that.
Mhm.
Then we are also talking about a specific project which talk about online tracking of the vehicles. The vehicles transportations, vehicle reaching to the customer's place, and at what stage the vehicle will be there. So all those details will be is already in. So various projects, and that too, we also have a system that is a Salesforce. Your claim management, the entire inquiry systems from the customers, then the order booking, everything is through Salesforce. So this is something which is a digitalization which is happening. So going forward, I would say there is the manual intervention will be very, very, very less. It will be restricted. So everything will be through automations.
Yeah.
So that is something which I'm talking from the integrated steel perspective.
Yeah, that is encouraging. So you are saying you are going with a fast pace, and digitalization is the culture which you people have adopted.
Yes.
It's the only way ahead. That's great. Dr. Dhawan Saab, what is your experience with special steel people?
Well, I'm sorry. As it is known, sorry, sir. Particularly alloy and stainless steel people, they as everybody knows, their capacities are smaller, operations are smaller, but the demand of the buyers is much higher by nature of the end use, and that is auto sector, defense sector, aerospace. And therefore, the need for digitize, as my friend mentioned, the need of digitization has already been realized, and more so, the pace one has to match with the international. And secondly, all the companies, this is a very simple rule that if all of them, the competition is so high. When I say competition is so high, almost everybody is trying to meet the standards of Toyota or Hyundai or Maruti Suzuki or Mahindra and even now others. Therefore, there is absolutely no scope for not going for it. In fact, it is on high priority. And when we say it is on high priority, everything is because the more you delay, the more outspaced you will be. And in fact, if you don't update in this area now, the other world is moving so fast in this area that the distance will only increase and somebody else will get in. Therefore, there is no scope for ignoring it. It is rather a high priority area.
Yeah. Actually, yes, that what you said is right. In fact, I was thinking about Mr. Vivek's argument that in normal case it can be applicable, but in case of accidents or in case of something abnormal happening in the plant, this AI cannot be implemented. I think my idea about AI is totally different, totally contrary to what Mr. Vivek was arguing. Mr. Satyajit, what do you think? Is AI not is Industry 4.0 not useful in crisis management or something like that?
Pardon? I didn't get your question.
Yeah, I was referring to Mr. Vivek's argument that in normal case, AI is okay, digitalization is okay, but in case of some accident or in case of some abnormal happening in the plant, this AI cannot be helpful. In fact, my understanding about AI and my understanding about Industry 4.0 is exactly contrary to what Mr. Vivek is saying. I think in crisis management or in abnormal situations, it is Industry 4.0 can help you in a better way. What is your experience? What can you tell about this?
See, again, if you ask me about the experience,
Yeah.
we are still in the nascent stage. We are trying to develop the systems.
Okay.
All these integrations, all the digitalizations are only to support and help us in addressing all the situations in the adverse conditions.
Absolutely. That is
So
what
so
we are
it is
designed
like
for.
if we have a proper system in place, then the chances of having the adverse situations will be less. But the answering to your question specifically as to what will happen, or whether it is able to adequately address or not, that is something which I will not be able to answer, because that experience is even in the process. We have not experienced the implementation. So
I know.
once it is implemented, once the performance is seen, then only we'll be in a position to comment.
But I know, and I can tell Mr. Vivek, I hope you are hearing that there are there are modules in Industry 4.0 which deal with safety, number one, and which also deal with crisis management. So you can have look at them, and it is, I don't think it is correct to say that in abnormal situations or in accidents, AI or digitalization or Industry 4.0 may not work. In fact, they are designed to work in all conditions. So maybe your experience is different. You can have different, modules working for different functions. So it is like that. Uh, Let us go to the next parameter which I wanted to discuss about the market. In that parameter, my question to the panelist is, how stable and growing is the market? Simple question. One liner.
Sir,
The question is one liner. How stable and growing is the market? We'll start with Mr. Vivek.
Sir, market is not only stable, rather it is more than stable, I'll say first thing.
Okay.
Because of the infrastructure growth story everywhere.
Hmm.
You travel anywhere to the country, you will find everywhere construction is going on. Whatever is the project, maybe housing, maybe airport, maybe road, everywhere in the nation, because recently I have traveled in last 6 months by road in so many places. I saw everywhere construction was going on, and I was also confident that if this is the scene, you have to believe your eyes, and seeing is believing. If this is the situation, definitely this growth is going to continue for many more years. It is not that if someone is like UP Jewar project, it is a very big area where airport is coming, film city is coming. So overnight, these projects will not be closed until unless there is some big policy change. So they are going to complete. As a result, the demand has just started, I'll say. It is just started. We are going to see very high level of demand in coming months. Once this monsoon, this is a sentimental. People talk about monsoon, but I have seen maximum construction is going on in monsoon. Once this is going to be over with good months, I think that we may not be able to supply the steel to the project. That is the situation I am forecasting. And this DRI price is going to be 40,000 in next couple of years, which was 26,000, 27,000 4 months back. Yeah. So that is my analysis, because I see and then I just correlate. And government is also very keen to make India as a developed state, not developing country, developed state. So as a result, if so much of development is taking place across the country from Kashmir to Kanyakumari, 120, 140 million is not enough. We have to make 200 million ton. Rather, as 2030 by 300 million ton.
Great.
And one more line, sir. Sorry, taking 30 seconds more. You have rightly said that AI is to address all your kind of deviations, maybe abnormal situations.
Maybe accident.
I also have the same thing, but mera usme at times one concern always comes. If that is true, then why TCS is not doing with Tata's? That is a world #1 company. I'm just thinking, it's not any criticism. Tata is having TCS and Tata Elxsi with them, and they are doing AI across the world. So in their plant, maybe Tata Steel long product or Tata Metallic or Tata Sponge Iron, I feel that they should be the leader to provide us the path. and we have to follow. Once they will do, we will simply give them same order to TCS कि भैया वहां कर दिया, हमारे यहाँ भी कर दो आप.
Let us have somebody, some representative from Tata Steel or TCS next time, and we'll discuss this.
Yeah,
But,
it is a question coming to my mind कि एक बार वो कर देंगे, that they will get huge opportunity in the India. All steel plant will copy that.
Definitely, definitely.
Yeah.
So, Mr.
Thank you.
Satyajit, what is your take on demand?
Demand, I think the steel industries, I think, is going through a good phase. The market is also there, and going forward, what I see is that the demand is going. New areas are being created, new applications are created, and we are talking of the various products, like say electrical steels.
Yeah.
That is CRGO, CRNGO. And the government is also trying to bring a lot of legislations, regulations, and this way we will be in a better position to manufacture steel, and which just few years back we are not talking about CRGO, but today we are talking of CRGO. We are talking of the tin plate products. So what I'm trying to say is that the demand is going in various applications, various sectors. Like as far as ArcelorMittal Deposit is concerned, we are investing close to 60,000 crores in our plant in Hajira, and we are coming up with various products which you will be seeing for the first time in this country.
Okay.
So be it automotive, be it coated, be it for applications, be it for constructions, any segments. So in next 2-3 years, you will see that the products that we are planning to come, of course, it is there in ArcelorMittal Europe, but in India it's not there. So what I'm saying is that the demand is increasing because new application base is created, and when you create a new application base, I'm just giving an example, and it also depends on the government policies. Like you're talking about the water tanks. We all thought of concrete-based water tanks, but now you're talking of steel-based water tanks. So what I'm saying is the industries or application, there is a huge opportunities, and it is not the steel industries are going in a directions in which there a lot of value-added applications are getting generated. You talk about the solar segments, specific steel is getting developed for solar segments to meet the entire solar requirement. So, and today, I'm sure the next 4-5 years, you will not see, I'm talking about the flat product. You will not find any steel getting imported. All the steel, at least I'm talking about the MNS Hajira, Surat, we will be able to produce all kinds of steels as far as flat product is concerned in next 4-5 years. So that the project is already on. In next 2 years, we are going to commission a lot of all the new lines. All steels with respect to flat products will be produced in India. So that is something which will define. Unless the steel is being produced in India, you will not be able to create the market. We will only simply talk about importing. Importing is always difficult. It is an expensive affair. So when you start producing in India, then you will create the market and demand will be generated.
So my take, Mr. Satyajit, two points I can see. One is that depending on exports may not be the complete and the correct strategy, because in Western countries, their economies are already getting stagnated. I mean, so when these stagnated economies are there, I don't know how much can we export there. So if we look at India inwards, if we look at the domestic market, I see a huge difference between the per capita steel consumption in urban areas and in rural areas. I feel that can give you your plants like you a very big opportunity to fill that gap. Between the per capita steel consumption in urban areas and rural areas, lot of steel has to go in rural areas. So that not a big opportunity for steel plants?
Absolutely. That is something, because if we have today, we are at the level of 80, less than 80. And if you have to go to the level of 156, 150 or 60, then
Yeah.
definitely the steel consumption has to increase. And more important is,
See, 80 you are saying about the total country, right? Average.
right,
I'm differentiating between rural consumption and urban consumption. If you see urban consumption, it will be more than 250 kgs.
right.
Okay. And if you see rural consumption, it will be less than 40 kgs.
Absolutely agree.
So that huge gap is there, and the people like you, plants like you, steel companies like you have to fill that gap. There is a big opportunity in this.
To answer that, so we have to reach to the rural sectors, the rural aids.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
how we are reaching? And today you are talking of hypermart. In AMNS, we have hypermarts. And these hypermarts
Yes,
is almost 85 hypermarts which are placed in the interior locations.
absolutely.
And the number
That
of
is
hypermarts,
absolutely correct.
even recently, we have opened our hypermart in Jammu, Kashmir, and Ladakh, those areas. So,
Yeah, we
what
have
happens is,
carried
when you
that news.
start putting off all the hypermarts,
Hmm.
then what will happen? You can reach to the interior,
Yeah,
the
yeah.
rural sectors. Okay, so that is a major initiative that we have taken. And
Yes.
I'm sure what you said is correct. So the steel consumption is growing, and India is a huge opportunities. Huge opportunities. It is for the long products. It is for the flat products, for all sectors. All sectors.
Yeah. Great. Dr. Dhawan, what is your take on this?
My take was, as I started in the beginning,
Hmm.
and that is, we are the brightest spot in the industry,
Yes, yes.
in the steel
Well
industry.
said,
And when I mentioned it, I did not use any full stop, commas, ifs, and buts.
Yes, sir.
Having said so, let me give you 1 minute on at least the segmentation of the Indian market. I have been a market director of sale, and when I left, I was in charge of long products and exports. And
Yes.
since then, again, I am associated with the industry, both international trade of all steels and alloy steel as the director general of ESPA.
Absolutely.
See, our market is divided into 4 or 5 segments, major segments. One is construction, realty, including housing, and which is the mainstay of the steel demand and industry.
Hmm.
Second one is auto.
Okay.
Auto segment about 17 to 20, varies depending upon demand.
Yeah.
Then there comes capital goods projects. Then comes white goods.
Mm-hmm.
And then also comes the packaging and what is called as roofing and so many others. Plus, of course, pipe, oil, the others follow. Now, having seen this, you will see almost every segment in the country is growing at a good pace. When we say good space, construction is always linked to GDP. And if GDP is 6 to 7%, we don't have to worry. And everybody, my other fellow panelists have mentioned that infra is going to stay for next at least. I will not, now let me honestly tell you, I've spent more than 40 years in steel industry. There is nothing called permanency in steel demand. There you cannot predict the demand for more than 1.5 to 2 years. Who had predicted COVID and coming demands in the world coming to almost zero?
Yes.
Who
Yes.
had predicted a war between Ukraine and Russia? So,
Agreed, sir. Agreed.
and therefore, the demand projections over a longer periods of time is really
No value.
it has no value. But at the same time, as my other colleague mentioned, steel investment in the steel industry has to be on continuous matter because the gestation periods are high. It takes longer time for companies to come. So still you have to put in money. Now, what is appearing on the short-term basis is up to 2024 end, things look stable, as you wanted to know. Are stable,
Yes,
markets are
yes,
stable
yes.
in the country. There is nothing looking back. Reasons: excellent GST collection. the elections coming, and therefore almost all state government or federal governments putting full thrust on spending.
Okay.
Third, government spending and government procurement, both for their own use as well as defense. So look at anything. So lastly, like white goods, there is so much of demand for the white goods that the only problem will be sometimes raw material like the availability of chips, coal. As I think my other colleague also mentioned, raw material, we have to ensure, even reflect this. So demand wise, I don't think on short term basis, demand wise, there is any concern.
Okay.
Of all the segments. Now, coming to your very important point which you mentioned, that see, as of now, when we say in the recent past, India had been a net exporter. Then it shifted as a net importer.
Yeah.
Now, if the demand is going to be good, so, and the prices, as my other friend mentioned, Mr. Vivek, the prices remain good and robust, the dependence on export would be not as a compulsion, but as an opportunity. Having said so, please note that all the big companies, regular companies, as a matter of strategy, and that is what I am emphasizing. You mentioned the words for strategy. They will continue their international presence for strategic reasons, particularly my industry, alloy steel industry, stainless steel industry, stainless steel particularly, it depends largely and hugely, some of the unit on exports, defense, export for defense. And that's why they have to continuously keep on depending on, and even today, when I go to the commerce or ministry or secretary commerce, they suddenly look at me, you are going to ask for the rod tap. Dr. Dhawan will ask for the rod tap. Rod tap is refund of direct taxes on exports. This is an export, it is not an incentive, it is a refund of direct taxes. Otherwise, you are exporting taxes also along with the product, which is anti-WTO. So, rod tap, so PLI. So, this, as of now, India was depending on 10% of exports. Even the government has a policy of exports targeting to 30 million tons when we are producing 300 million tons. So you cannot defocus. Prices may be high. In fact, India is known to switch on and switch off policy, which is not a healthy policy. Don't export much, but don't shy away from the export just because your domestic realizations are very high. And that's why, at least our units, they are fighting it out, everything. And emerging markets. For emerging markets, we are meeting the government officials, like for Mercosur region, European Union, USA, even for USA, go ahead, put in some US 232 or some embargo on defense. We have fought it out. Prime Minister himself took that agenda, and defense equipment has to go. So I agree, while we have sufficient demand domestically, we will be able to do it. But there are units who have put in capacities, facilities for exports. They will continue to grow also. Because you remember there was no, in between, some export duty was put in. Honestly telling you, even at the cost of their margins, they continued export. Lastly, for our carbon steel plants, see, they have, I put in a point, the major plants have put in very hard work in the last few years to create markets and create channels, and therefore they will continue to nurture those markets and also supply. Therefore, my take on export is, whatever hurdles may come, India will sustain its exports also regularly.
Thank you, Dr. Dhawan. And when it comes to markets, I cannot resist but mention about the defense sector, which has created a very big market for steel. So defense is emerging as one of the biggest customers for steel industry in recent years. So just to mention that, passing going ahead. Now we are already short of time now. We have exceeded the time, in fact, and I would like to have a very short closing remark from everybody, starting from maybe Mr. Satyajit. Closing remark, one or two sentences. How do you see? What would you say?
See,
Challenges ahead, opportunities ahead. What would you say?
I think the overall this session we had a good discussion on the various topics. Steel industries challenges we have discussed, the challenges we have to address, and with definitely support, and more important is with a collaborative approach. Collaborative approach in the sense with our customers and suppliers, and with the support of the government. Then definitely as a facilitator, I think we can overcome all these challenges. And the demand is good. Demand will keep on increasing, and I am sure that we are very much optimistic that the demand will be there. And I'm sure the steel industries will definitely meet the aspirations of the government or the national steel policy. By 2030, we will be able to produce 300 million tons. So that is something which we are hopeful. That's my closing remarks.
Thank you, Mr. Satish. Mr. Vivek, your closing remark.
Yeah, remarks are, I can summarize, I can say that we must salute our private sector from where 85% steel comes to the nation, where they have not only created the demand, rather during Corona period, they have been able to reduce their debt to a big extent. And as a result, now they are in a comparatively more safe space. And the way they are expanding, particularly in eastern part of the country, really needs to be appreciated, and government must keep on supporting them because it is in the interest of the nation. Demand will be there, prices will be there. We will be in export, and at times like yesterday only, government had put some import duty on stainless steel. So these all will keep on happening, but so will go on, and we will continue to see good days ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Vivek. Dr. Saab, your closing remarks.
I would, in my remarks, in the closing session, I confine myself to secondary sector, which is the major sector which I represent. Let me assure you, and let me tell you, today the steel making capacity of this sector, though earlier it was called secondary sector, now it is called electric sector because of the route it is adopting. So it is called electric route steel making. It has already played a prominent role in the past. It's going to have a further role in the future. And when I say that, the governments are going to work on an average carbon emission in the country. And if the average carbon emission in the steel is going to be talked about, as I heard, then perhaps this will really help the normal conventional steel plus this put together to bring down the carbon emission of the country. Secondly, demand, we have discussed demand for both alloy steel, defense and aerospace. I again say demand for auto sector and defense and aerospace is going to be, in fact, I'm expecting a lot of more investments and even by the various other plants to invest more in these sectors because the demands are becoming more and more customized, as we understand from auto manufacturers, auto component manufacturers, and others. And the steel is going to be top. Indian steel is again going to have a very, very prominent role in the world steel. Lastly, which my other friend mentioned in the beginning, he was telling why we are not able to make the best of the steel. Let me assure my fellow panelists, we are making, maybe we may not be the best everywhere in every steel, but let me assure you, and you can check up even AMNS. AMNS is in many, many categories, perhaps the most preferred steel, whether it is their plate or sometimes galvanized product. Jindal Steel, similarly Mukund Steel. They have their own brand names, but I think somewhere my other panelists did mention the culture of making steel, the discipline of making steel, and the technology upgradation with the time continuously and not getting stagnated, that is very, very important. And if that we show, I don't think we will lag behind anywhere, anybody in the world.
Thank you, Dr. Dhawan.
Just one last
Yeah.
remarks. Dr. Dhawan, see, my intention of saying that we are doing best, I'm not saying that. But today, last 3-4 years, SR Steel acquisition of ArcelorMittal and Nippon Steel, we have been trying to benchmark ArcelorMittal and Nippon Steel both. And we see the gap on the qualities. So what I'm saying is, we are no doubt we are producing very good. Steel quality is excellent. But how can we be the best? That is something which we are trying to address. So that will happen only when we understand our limitations and how we can really make it happen. That is something which we will have to focus. And here, the point, culture is playing a very, very pivotal. So that is the culture is playing a pivotal role, because we have done the benchmarking. And when you do the benchmarking, the discipline is something which holds the key, is the difference. Is the only difference between the best and us is the discipline. And if you really can practice and implement discipline all across, I'm sure that India will be the best. That is something which I just wanted to convey.
Yeah.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. It was a great
Thank you,
session
Satyajit,
and
and
learning experience.
thank you, Dr. Dhawan. Thank you, Vivek ji. It was really pleasure interacting with experts like you, and that has really given the correct reflection and the correct perception of the steel industry in the country. We had a very nice and very insightful discussion. Thank you very much, all the dignitaries and all the panelists, and thanks participants for being with us in this session. That brings us to the end of this session. We'll be again back after lunch break. In fact, there is no lunch in the digital conference, I know, but we will be back at around 2:15. So thank you very much. Thanks all.
So thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you all.
Last 10 seconds, sir. I request you to have this conference next time physically and virtually.
Yes,
also.
we are thinking in 2003.
It's combination of both physical and virtual, because through such conference we meet at least once in a year.
We are actually, I'll tell you, Vivek ji, we are conceiving some hybrid model. So, these hybrid models will work in the future. That's what I feel. So we are working on that. Let's see how it goes.
Sir.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Vivek.